Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in Facebook world. Thank you for joining us. I see we have several hundred people already in the broadcast, and I'm excited to have you here on this dreary Friday evening, at least dreary in these parts of the world. I am coming to you from my home in Midtown Manhattan in New York City, and I'm excited to spend this evening with you for the 10th episode of Live with Gregory Pappas. It's really been a treat for me being able to connect with all of you and to bring so many unique voices from our community, from throughout the world, actually. I started this journey several weeks ago with Archbishop Nikitas of Great Britain, and we had a wonderful conversation about what was going on in England. And after that, we had numerous officials, individuals, exciting people, authors. I've also been sharing my passion for cooking with all of you, and it's been great. This coming Sunday, I'll be doing another live cooking show. Tonight, we have a very timely discussion that will take place with Father Evagoras Constantinides. Let me bring him into this live stream here, and while I do so, I'll tell you a little bit about what his role is. Father Evagoras, we find you. You are live. Welcome.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for having me.
Father Evagoras Constantinides is the official spokesperson of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. He is a man of many hats, well, at least two hats in his official capacity. His second hat is the Dean of the Cathedral of Saints Constantine and Helen, Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Brooklyn, New York. We seem to be having a little bit of a Brooklyn theme going on here. I don't remember who I was speaking to last week, who was also from Brooklyn.
Peter Vlitas.
Was it Peter Vlitas? That's correct. Peter Vlitas. Is he from your parish?
Yes, he is.
So we are continuing the Brooklyn theme. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from the Astoria crowd and the Manhattan crowd, and who cares about Staten Island and the Bronx, but we should mention them too, right? Father Evagoras, I do want to talk to you about the hat you wear as a priest at a local parish. I want to talk to you about your official capacity as the spokesperson of the Archdiocese. We have a lot to talk about, but I think first and foremost, I really do want to talk to you in your official capacity as a father, as a minister to hundreds of families during what's probably been the most difficult time of our lifetime, at least. How are you? How are your family? How are your children? How have you been dealing with all this in this crazy time?
Thanks, Greg. Thank you again for having me on tonight and being here with you. We're doing okay. My family has stayed very much locked up and, has been pretty much secluded for the past 2 months. I think my kids have gone outside and only 2 or 3 times. We live in a small New York apartment. It's difficult, but then again, we look around and, we see the way that people are handling things and the way that, the precautions that are being put in place, and we're safe, we're healthy. And what more can we ask for?
Well, you're in a great position to be healthy, and we're all thankful for that. I have been following you on Twitter, and one of the things that I appreciate, and I am going to share your Twitter handle here with everybody, because one of the things I appreciate about your voice, Father, is that you're authentic. It's an authentic voice. You poke fun at Presbytera at every opportunity that you can. You share your frustrations a lot. I remember you, I don't want to say lashing out. That's a tough statement to say, but you were upset with the way some of your parishioners were handling certain things and responding to your directives. And I really appreciated your authenticity. I don't always agree with you, just like you don't always agree with me, but we do need authentic voices in this community. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I read that you tweeted or retweeted a while ago, and it kind of stuck with me. And this will segue me into our discussion about the Archdiocese and what the Archdiocese has done. You tweeted that bad leaders care about who's right and good leaders care about what's right. And I have to tell you, one of the things I have noticed during this COVID-19 crisis has been the leadership of Archbishop Elpidoforos. And I look at this as an impartial observer. I have to report the news, good and bad. We have written numerous stories about certain quote unquote scandals at the Archdiocese in previous years and so on. So this isn't a sugarcoating of things. This is me, as the publisher of the Pappas Post, watching this man who was thrust into this crisis less than a year. Was it just over a year? Not even a year since he had been throned in America, coming here as somebody from a foreign country. And all of a sudden, not only is he managing an American church with very unique realities, but we're in the middle of a pandemic and he's having to make some really difficult decisions. So through his spokesperson, I think that Archbishop Elpidoforos needs commended. He's done a remarkable job from the beginning of this crisis, communicating. I've been touched by the almost daily memorial services that the Archdiocese is having, that His Eminence is doing himself with his brother clergy in memory of those who have passed. And one of the things that I wanted to bring you on the show tonight to specifically talk about, and this is another thing that really struck me as odd. I saw the announcement that you sent out a few weeks ago about the Archdiocese Relief Fund, and I thought that this was a bold move, that the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America was giving money. It was our own version of the government's stimulus program. Can we talk about how this whole fund emerged and how you're operating it and what you're doing?
Yeah, Greg, it's a really important line, right, that I want to talk about for a moment, because I graduated from the School of Theology about 10 years ago, and my first assignment out of the school was working at the Archdiocese. I have been in the Archdiocese almost my entire career as a priest. And I came on as the spokesperson for the Archdiocese right in the first 2 weeks, I think, of March. Right as my first meeting at the Archdiocese was days before we closed everything down. And I remember being at the Archdiocese and kind of my head was spinning. I didn't really, know what was going on. And a few days later, the directives came down. We had to close down churches. They gave out the guidances and all of these things. And within those first few days, His Eminence established a COVID response team. And this team meets every single morning, even sometimes on the weekends at His Eminence's request. This team meets every single morning to talk about what's going on, what do we need to know, what does His Eminence need to be briefed on, and what are we doing to respond to the COVID outbreak. And this is over 2 months now that we've been doing this. So a lot of the things that you've seen from the Archdiocese over the course of the past 2 months have come from His Eminence's direct leadership and direct involvement. I've been involved in a lot of ministries, a lot of everything. I have never seen something like this. So to be at that level and to be in these meetings, and His Eminence is constantly the one pushing us and, saying, okay, like, it's time to go. It's, what are we doing about this? How are we doing it? He's very involved. He's very involved in every step of the process that's going on. He knows about all of the things that we're doing. He's encouraging us. One of the things I really appreciate about being involved is that for a long time, I've always told people that I believe in this concept of make it better, right? I don't believe that you can never do anything the best. You can always be better. And as a Chicago bred and born, or not born, but as a Chicago bred person and a follower of Michael Jordan, and especially watching The Last Dance over the past couple months, right? Michael Jordan always pushed himself to be better. And that's exactly what His Eminence does. He wants everything to be at the best level that we can do at the Archdiocese, even when it's the most difficult thing, right? You think about it. You live your entire life watching from a distance and visiting and being a part of, but really watching from a distance, the Archdiocese of America. Then you come over here to be the Archbishop, and within your first year, you have to shut everything down. I mean, how difficult is that? I mean, how taxing really could that be? I've thought about it, for my own ministry, what that would be like. And yet he's got this steady hand on everything that the Archdiocese is doing. And that's why we're seeing so many things move forward. And so a few weeks ago, about a month ago, His Eminence said, it's time. We need to do more. There are people, the numbers, we've all seen the unemployment numbers, we've seen the jobless numbers, we've seen them continue to rise. I think it's something here in New York City, it's something like 300,000 people have lost their jobs, with expected another 80 over the next, couple months. And so we looked at, what could we do? So His Eminence wanted to establish this relief fund, and it's really simple. This relief fund is paying people's bills. So you can go online to goarch.org/COVID, right? And you can, there
posted the link in the comments, so everybody can come and find it, along with your Twitter handle, by the way.
Thanks. So there's two parts of it, right? There's the part, obviously, for the people who need help and need support during this time. And it's very simple. You get all your paperwork together, you get your bills together, you submit your stuff into the Archdiocese. It's reviewed. You're going to be called by somebody from the Archdiocese just to ask a few questions, make sure everything's in order. And then after everything goes through, the Archdiocese pays those bills up to $2,500 a person. And that's important right now. A lot of people need that help. And at the same time, right, there was a donor who said, we'll help you out up to $500,000. We have that ability to give up to $500,000. And His Eminence was like, great. Let's do more. Let's make it better. And so he's called on us. He's called on each and every one of us to look and to see how we can do. Because, listen, there's a lot of us, myself included. We're very lucky to still have our jobs and to still have a place to work. And there's so many people across this country who don't have that opportunity. So, to give whatever we can, to give small dollar donations, $5, $10, $20, it all adds up in the end. And so, starting today, His Eminence kind of kicked off this campaign of really engaging young adults. And, a lot of us are out there. We spend money all the time on things, right? We're going to give $5 for this online subscription. We're going to get our coffee. That's the one everybody uses, right? The cost of your coffee or whatever it is. But we're giving all the time. And this is a way to give to really people who need the money the most. So
I also think it's a beautiful way, Father, excuse me for interrupting, but I think it's a beautiful way to show solidarity, because not everybody has $500,000 to give to save a community of people, but everybody has $5. Everybody has $10. And, I went online and donated today, and it wasn't a lot of money, but it made me feel good for a minute to say that I was able to contribute something. My $25 or $50 or $100 isn't going to pay someone's rent, but it might pay someone's internet for a month that they need to stay working from home, and so on and so forth. So I one of the things I want to comment on about this, and about everything you said about what the Archdiocese has done. The Archdiocese had a multifaceted responsibility here, not just to tend to people's spiritual needs, but also these practical needs. I mean, I just today saw a 19-page directive that was mailed about how to open your churches. I mean, everything from how to wipe your icons down. I mean, there's a ton of things to consider. It's not just, let's shoot an email to all the priests and open up 800 parishes across America. You have to handle what a particular zip code has in terms of what the regulations are. And I even noticed that on the GoArch website. And it was quite practical to find a resource on the site where you could plug in your zip code and it would pull up all of the local authority rules and regulations and so on. So it's truly a testament to all of you who have been hunkering down and quarantining or doing whatever you've been doing, because it's really been impressive to watch this Archdiocese really not even switch off and switch on again, or not even pivot. It seems like when the announcements came in mid-March to shut down, it's like the next day, everybody started getting press releases about how we were doing this and how we're supposed to connect online and which parishes. And there were some parishes that didn't have the technical capacity to connect to the internet, so they were sharing links with sister parishes. And it was very, very impressive. Unlike some of the chaos we saw in some of the other Orthodox churches happening around the world, but we won't talk about that right now. I think that's another topic. So, Father, I think a lot of people want to know. So the process is simple. You log in to the COVID-19. I did place the resource link on the website. And there's a link that people can donate. It's a standard donation, secure information, credit card, etc. As far as the relief goes, it's a private process, I'm assuming. There's a confidential review. What's that like?
Yeah, there's a confidential review that takes place. We have some really great people at the Archdiocese who are involved in reviewing those. And, I had the opportunity to speak with one of them 2 days ago. Actually, we brought them on our call in the morning and to speak with His Eminence. And this young lady started crying because she said, she actually shared with us, she said, Your Eminence, I've been working here at the Archdiocese for, I think it's over 20 years. And she said, and this is the most fulfilling work that I have done in my 20 years at the Archdiocese, because it's touching and reaching out to people exactly at the most vulnerable point. And these are not people who are coming. These aren't people who are trying to scam the church. This is just, you have people who are submitting their mortgage payments, people who are submitting their car payments, their electrical bills, right? You have to put this stuff in, but there's a certain amount of humility that it takes to be able to do something like that, right? So we're treating that really carefully, and really, we're very aware of the fact that people are opening this information to us. So we're contacted by somebody from the Archdiocese who just goes over some of the numbers and makes sure that everything is in place. And then the payout comes, after that. And, we're really looking forward hopefully in the next week, to be able to start to share some of these stories of where this, money is going, because the applications are coming in every day. We're getting more and more applications, and that's really why His Eminence is pushing us from behind to say we need to raise more money. He does not want to get into a place where we have applications and we're not able to help people. So we have up to $500,000 with our donor, but we can do more, right? Our Archdiocese, our community, our Omoyenia, we can do more. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it with anytime that things, tragic things happen. We've reached out. We've done it in all sorts of situations. And our Archbishop is calling upon us. So it's really simple. You go to the website. You click right there on the website. You can click 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, or other. Put in all your information and your build out. This is an opportunity. Again, it's funny that you talk about solidarity, because as we were starting this interview tonight, I got nervous when you went on at 7 o'clock, because my window in my office is open and you can hear the clanging and the ringing and the bells, right?
I'm here.
We're doing that as New Yorkers because we're looking for some way to connect with everybody else. We're stuck in our homes, we're stuck in our apartments. So, even my son, we have the child lock on the windows, right? So we open the window, this much, and he puts his lips up and he's screaming out, because we as people are looking for a way to connect. And this is a way to connect as well, a way to give back, a way to reach out, and a way to help. So this is a way that we can also find solidarity with our church and with those people who need the help as well.
And I do want to clarify, this is a national project. This is the project of the Archdiocese. Anybody in the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, you're covering all of the metropolises throughout the nation. Anybody can apply that is a Greek Orthodox Christian from throughout the United States.
This is open to anyone. Anyone can apply for these funds. So there's no caveat, there's no limit. These funds are open for anyone, because let's be honest, it's not just Greek Orthodox Christians who need help right now, right? It's our job, our community. When Philoptochos goes out and feeds the homeless, they don't ask people what their religion are, right? So when we go out and we have these funds and we have the ability to give out these funds, as much as we can do, our job, our mission, our evangelism is to help those in need, period, full stop. And that's, that's what we've been called to do.
That's a very bold statement, and I think a bold step of the Archdiocese. I have posted the links to the COVID-19 page on the Archdiocese website. We are getting numerous comments. You've got a lot of people who are shouting out. Bishop Demetrius in St. Augustine, Florida, wanted me to remind you that you are Chicago bred.
Yeah.
Of course, we keep talking about New York all the time, and I think that both of us have a Chicago connection, so we should shout out to our Chicago friends and supporters. I spent 2 decades in Chicago, so I very much feel like a Chicagoan, although I've been in New York City for 5 years. Speaking of Chicago, Father Evagoras, how does the disparity amongst or with all of the metropolises, you've got different metropolises within the metropolises themselves. Since we're picking on Chicago, let's talk about Metropolitan Nathaniel. He's not only dealing with the regulations of the state of Illinois, which may be sheltering in place for another month. He's got to deal with Wisconsin, which is open and people are already going out and going to the bars. He's got to deal with Iowa. And you have this national church here now that has to deal with jurisdictional issues because the Archdiocese can't really step on the toes of the individual metropolises because that's what the metropolitans are there to do. How is the Archdiocese handling all of this? It sounds to me like you're trying to be a unified voice of reason and then allowing everybody else to kind of go, or encouraging everybody else to go and do what they have to do based on their rules and regulations.
Yeah. So about 2 weeks ago, the Holy Eparchial Synod, then that's made up of the Archbishop and all of the metropolitans, they all got together to talk about the next step, right, of looking towards the reopening of the churches. And it's impossible in a situation like this to make an overarching one-size-fits-all. In the United States, you have some states who never closed the churches at all. They were never legally mandated to close, but the Archdiocese and the Eparchial Synod stepped up and said, you know what, no, we're closing all the churches, right? Game over. In this situation of how we reopen, the Eparchial Synod took a look at it and very much out of pastoral concern said, every metropolitan needs to look at their specific situation and decide what the best steps are for their metropolis. Because it's not just Chicago, right? Every metropolis encompasses all sorts of different states, all sorts of different regions. And in this situation, all sorts of breakouts. You have some metropolises that, look at the metropolis of Denver, right? In Texas, you have a lot of very high urban areas where they had, infection numbers were very high, but then you have other states like Idaho and Montana where the infection numbers were very low. So how do you make one wide-ranging policy to go across the entire country? It's impossible. So this shows us the leadership from our hierarchs, that they are able to look at it on an individual basis. They're able to look what's best for their metropolis. And for even most of the metropolises, they're looking at it state by state, parish by parish. And a lot of the guidance they're giving to the parishes, you need to meet with your parish leadership. You need to come up with a plan. You need to talk about cleaning. You need to talk about communication. You need to talk about sign up. You need to talk about tracing, right? It's like you said earlier. You can't just say the churches are open and then they open. That's irresponsible. Have no doubt about it. The Archdiocese, the Archbishop, the Metropolitans want to open the churches in a safe manner that keeps the faithful protected. That's it. So the Archbishop has commented on it many times. It pains him that the churches aren't open. It pains him that the people can't go in and receive, the sacrament of Holy Communion, that they can't go in and pray, that they can't go in to light a candle. But it wasn't safe. And now, as we're going to do this, let's go. I'm telling you, those morning meetings, right? His Eminence is the one pushing us from behind saying, let's go, let's go. We got to figure out a plan safely. We need to give guidance safely for all of our parishes here in the Archdiocesan District. And over the past week, we've seen every metropolis roll out plans to guide in their parishes how they can take the steps that they need to reopen. So I think that it's, it can be frustrating to us as faithful to just look at it and say, oh, I want to go do this thing or that thing. But we have to do these things in a different mindset. We have to do them because it's not just the physical health of the faithful, right, that's at risk, but we have to be concerned for their spiritual health as well. And so that's a very important part that's being taken into consideration. But we're on the path. We're on the path forward towards reopening churches.
I seen a lot of online conversations on Facebook, a lot of back and forth with people who just throw these blatantly, I don't want to say irresponsible comments because everyone's got their own opinion, but it's like open the churches and as if it's something simple to do. And I think you've just explained in a very detailed manner how complicated this is. I've also seen on Facebook, especially, a lot of crybabies. I want to go to church, and just some really impassioned people citing one Bible scripture or another and this and that. And it takes me back to a conversation that I had, and I wanted to share it with you and everybody else watching, with my 96-year-old uncle who lives in Crete. And we were talking about this and early on, because they closed the churches in Greece too. And he's a very spiritual man, and he goes to church every Sunday, and he walks with his cane. And when I mentioned to him something about the churches being closed, he said, so we'll wait a month or two. This thing will be over. And then he proceeded to tell me about his village during the Nazi occupation, when the priest defied the Nazi orders to hold liturgy, held a liturgy. Everybody in church was shot. And the churches in the village were closed for 3 years during the occupation. So my uncle proceeded to tell me we didn't have spiritual nourishment or communion for 3 years during the Nazi occupation. And you people are crying about this for a month? Because we can wait a month. So I wanted to share that story because I think it puts a lot of things in perspective for those of us, those of the faithful here who think that this is an eternity that we've had to wait, when in essence, if you want to compare it to the occupation of World War II, it's a blip. Father, I want to go to.
You bring up an interesting point, and I want to comment on that for a second. Is that like you said, right? I'm the dean. I'm the parish priest here at Saints Constantine and Helen Cathedral in Brooklyn, and I've been here for about 1.5 years, and I really get to know the people. I've really grown close with them. And when all of this started happening, I made a point, especially during Holy Week, to reach out and to call all of the elderly people in the community, right? Because I know the younger people, they're on Facebook, they're here, they're that. To reach out to the elderly people, how and I could not believe the responses that I got back from them. Παππούλη, μη στενοχωριέσαι, αυτό το κακό θα περάσει, θα περιμένουμε, τι να κάνουμε, πού να πάμε εμείς, right? It's fine. They were very calm about this. And I think it's for that exact reason, is that they have years and they have understanding and they've dealt with things like this. Listen, I see what people say on Facebook and on social media and on Twitter. I see what people say on TV, and I understand the frustration. Social media has become the place to air your grievances, and I get that, right? People are hurting because never in their lives have they ever experienced something like this. The thought that a church would ever be closed and that they couldn't even come in to get a palm on Palm Sunday, to light a candle, to do these things. These are concepts that are 100% foreign to us. Restaurants close all the time, right? Libraries close, schools close, all these things, other close. Churches don't close. And so we've never experienced this. Our generation, your generation, we've never experienced anything like this in our lives. So now we see people crying out. That's how I look at it, is that they are emotionally and spiritually struggling with this. And that's why I think that, the message that a lot of our hierarchs gave, in the days leading up to Holy Week about, turning your house into a church and like creating a prayer corner and being participatory in the services online, those things are important, but 2 months is a long time, and so now we're seeing that frustration build up and we're seeing it start to well up. And so as it's welling up, we're also looking towards the future. We understand it, but if we just look to, like you said, to your uncle, to my parishioners here at the cathedral, if you look to that older generation, they understand what's going on. And they also know, as we should know, the church is never going to die. The message of Jesus Christ is never going to die. And no matter what you do to me, it's like I told my parishioners, just because our church is closed doesn't mean that Christ doesn't rise from the dead. It doesn't mean we don't celebrate Pascha, right? They know that. And we have to look to them for their wisdom so that we can digest a little bit better.
Very, very wise words. And I also want to add, too, that even though the church is closed, they still continued their mission. I was on the receiving end of dozens upon dozens of email, press releases, photographs. My home parish in Chicago, and I don't know if Father Chrysanthos Kerkeris is watching, but they were out during this the heat of this crisis, delivering food to sick families. He had entire families infected with this, and they partnered with a local restaurant, with Avli Restaurant, and the folks at the Hellenic American Leadership Council, Andy Zemenidis, another good Chicago boy, and they literally went out and knocked on people's doors that couldn't get out to get food. So churches did fulfill a lot of other needs. It wasn't just flipping a switch and doing an online service. It was feeding people. It was tending to people's spiritual needs. And it was also something else, and I got a little surprise for you here. I noticed that despite this pandemic, you guys had a virtual March 25th celebration. I found this wonderful photograph of your son on Twitter. So you actually had a parish-wide march, just like we used to get up on stage and say our Pimata. How did you do this? So you had every kid?
So it was actually connected to the cathedral here has a parochial school, Aphantis Parochial School. It's preschool through 8th grade. And, this whole thing closed everything down, right, at the beginning of March. And so we were kind of wondering, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And we saw a few of the other schools. They had done like some pre-recorded stuff where they had kids record stuff at home and then, whatever. But we really wanted to push it at least partially for the show to be live. And so our music teacher, Tanya Stavropoulos, who is a recent grad of NYU music program, congrats, Tanya. Our music teacher got all of the kids, she recorded, so like Christopher, my son here, he was singing Dodeka Vzonaikia. So she recorded it, and then she sent it out to all the kids, and we had to record them singing Dodeka Vzonaikia, and then she stitched it all together so that the whole class was singing together. I mean, Greg, it was there were two things. One, she had all of the kids singing together, and then in another part of the show, I think she had the middle school kids dancing. And so they were all in their living rooms and they had Greek music and they're all dancing. They were dancing Kalamatiano, whatever, individually, right? But it's all on the screen laid out. And I'm not going to lie, I started to cry because it was one of those things that you see and you're like, I'm so proud. I'm so happy that they're doing this. And yet it brings back that like twinge of sadness that like we're apart. We're all sitting in our homes watching this and we could all be together. But yeah, that's one of the things we did.
Let that sadness compete with the very profound notion that kid that we see in that screen right now is not one generation removed from Greece, not 2 generations removed from Greece. If I understand correctly, Father, your father was born, parents were born in America, your grandparents, were they also born here? I mean, we're talking 4 generations.
Well,
and this kid is still putting on this white skirt and those tsaruja and those bright green headphones, and he's adapting to the times. And he's going to remember this experience for the rest of his life. And someday he's going to have his grandson or granddaughter on his lap and say, you know, when I was a kid, we had a pandemic. So I think that, yes, we should be sad. And these are sad times we're living in. But these are also wonderful times because in the words of Archbishop Nikitas, and I took a lot from Archbishop Nikitas, his message after Easter, he sent me an email with these beautiful words that said, let's not look at what this pandemic took away from us. Let's look at what it gave us. And that's what I'm a very half full glass kind of a guy. I always look at the glass, and it's hard to do that in these times. It's hard to do that when you're living in a city where 1,000 people a day are dying. It's hard to do that when you turn the news on or you see your Facebook feed and you're seeing friends fighting with each other over stupid politicians and stupid things. And you just want to put your head in the couch and not turn on your computer again. And then you see pictures like this of Christopher saying his poem that we were able to evolve and to adapt. And you mentioned this beautiful program that you guys put together. We have dozens and dozens of people online. I wanted to thank everybody for watching. I have just spent a very exciting 40 minutes with Father Evagoras Constantinides. Boy, it sounds like a Greek philosopher, not a Greek Orthodox priest. Father Evagoras Constantinides is the spokesperson of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America and the dean of the Saints Constantine and Helen Cathedral in Brooklyn, New York. We spent a very engaging half hour speaking about the Archdiocese of America's COVID Relief Fund. They are taking applications for up to $2,500 in grants. Yes, the church is paying your bills for you. I know that you've probably never heard that before. You usually go to church expecting to give money. I think this is probably the first time in history where the church is giving you money. And I think that's a very profound statement. And I'm not trying to be facetious at all. I'm posting again the link to the fund. Also, very important what Father said, and I'll let him close with the similar message of solidarity that he gave us earlier. The Archdiocese has received an anonymous donation of up to $500,000 based on the need, but these are times of solidarity. Father, I will let you close with your final spiel about the importance of all of us contributing to this fund, even with a little bit of money.
Thank you. Greg, thank you again so much for having me on here. And, you know, there's so many people. I see people in the comments, people from Chicago, from all over the place. And, you know, I know that this is going to be watched even more over the coming days. And the message is simple, is that it's time to act. You know, we have seen in my lifetime, right, we've seen us as a people step up. We stepped up after 9/11. We've stepped up in response to tragedies in the churches, in our parishes, right? Every time it seems that there is no hope, we find this light. And now, especially in the light of the resurrection, the church, the Archdiocese, is coming forward and saying that there are people in need, and it's our responsibility to do something. You know, there's a lot of funds out there. There's a lot of ways to give. There's a lot of ways to support. This is the Archdiocese joining the ranks and saying, you know what, we can reach out. We can help people as well. And we need your help. Up to $500,000 is a great starting point. And His Eminence knows that there are so many more people that we can help. You know, Greg, you were talking a little bit ago about, I'm sorry. Oh man, I lost my train of thought there. But His Eminence basically, okay, I know what it was. So we were talking about, you know, seeing the glass half full or half empty, right? on these morning meetings that we have with His Eminence, very often the team lays out for His Eminence, these are the problems that we're encountering, whether in whatever area it is, in dealing with, the churches were closed and online, interaction, how to help parishes, blah, 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 blah. And I've found it so inspiring that His Eminence always turns to us and says, I understand what the problem is. How do we make it better? How do we fix it? And I think it takes a true leader to really be able to move past the dissection of the problem, accept it, and say, what is the road forward? And this is the leadership that we're seeing. So it's our responsibility, each and every one of us, to do what we can to help out this fund, because these are people exactly who, like you said, we're paying people's bills here. There's people who need help. There's people who can't make their rent this month in New York City. There's people this month, right now, in different parts of the country who need help with their electrical bills, who need help with their car bills, who need help with their outstanding bills, who need help with their mortgages. Right now, these people need our help. And the more that we get this word out, we started off here, we're going to be on different radio stations, we're going on OCN, we're going to talk about all these people. So the more the word gets out, the more people are going to start applying. And that means that we need to be in a place to be able to offer them the help that they need. $5 matters. $10, $20, $100, whatever you can do to be able to contribute to this fund, it matters and it makes a difference. We kicked off today, you referred to it a little bit earlier, we kicked off a campaign of young adults. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to hear from young adults all across the country who donated to the fund because it was a way that they could connect with their church, and it was a way that they could reach out and help. So each and every one of us, take 5 minutes, visit the website, give whatever you can. Every dollar right now helps go towards a family that needs it. And I'll say this one last thing. We had His Eminence visit us the other night for our Vespers for Saints Constantine and Helen here in Brooklyn. And I know from being involved, right, that our maximum payout is $2,500. So I called on the people of my parish 2 weeks ago, and we're not a huge parish. We're a good community. I called on the people of our parish and I said, give whatever you can, go onto our PayPal, donate whatever you can. We want to present His Eminence with a check. I didn't know how much we were going to get. And that night, when His Eminence came, the president of our community, Harry Columbus, he got up and he presented His Eminence with a check for $5,000. Our people stepped up and gave $5,000 so that His Eminence would have a check. That's 2 families. That's 2 payouts. And a lot of it was small dollar donations. So this is the type of things that we can do as individuals. This is the type of things that we can do as communities. This is the type of thing that we can do as the Orthodox Christian Archdiocese, the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. We can change people's lives when they are hurting the most. So please, if you can, give whatever. Go visit goarch.org/COVID. The link's right there in the chat. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact us at the Archdiocese. Thank you so much, Greg.
Father Evagoras, thank you very much for spending this evening with us. Please give our best to everybody at the Archdiocese that has continued to work and to keep all of us informed. Leah is asking me for the donation link. Leah, if you click on goarch.org, I put the link in the comments, goarch.org/COVID-19. You'll see the donation link there. You'll also see the link to apply for support if you need it. I want to thank everybody for watching this evening, for continuing to watch. This has been my 10th episode of Live with Gregory Pappas. It's been a true pleasure connecting with so many of you. Our videos are watched by tens of thousands of people throughout the world. This has been a rewarding experience for me. Hi, Michelle in Pittsburgh. Love my hometown. Thank you for watching. I also want to give a shout out to a couple hundred people every month who support the work of the Pappas Post. It costs us money too to keep functioning. And we have a little support mechanism here where people can pitch in $5 a month, $10 a month. We do this because we love sharing stories and communicating with people. It costs a lot of money to keep websites functioning and content original and sharing that with all of you. So I've just posted the support link. I hope some of you will click that link, pappaspost.com/support, and pitch in $5 a month, whatever you can give. By all means, support the efforts, the good efforts of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America and the people in need around the country. Father Evagoras, thank you, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Take care.